I should really probably start a ticker for how many times I'm about to say iconic in this video. I did this video last year and I thought it was a fun way to just recognize some iconic horror characters in the movies that we all saw last year, and kind of different from just a ranking of the overall films. And I kept a running list on my phone the entire last year in preparation for this moment. So I'm ranking these based on my own enjoyment of the character for one thing, but also the impact they had on social media. I think this year we saw that happen to a couple of different horror characters, which I think is really great for the genre. So in a roughly particular order, starting with number 10 is the Death Card from Tarot. You may not remember the movie as a whole, but I feel like a lot of you might remember the Death Card doesn't always mean death, because they repeated that dialogue at least 5 times throughout the course of the movie. So much so it felt like the Death Card was its own character. So I thought to include it in this list. Okay, but for real though, the Death Card doesn't always mean death. Coming in at number 9 is Milk/Marshall from the viral YouTube hit Milk and Cereal. Love that these real life YouTubers made this creepy ass found footage horror movie and just straight up released it on their channel for free. Super goated of them, super iconic of them, honestly. And super brave of our main character, who fully looks like he could be a serial killer. And that's really what makes this movie so goddamn scary. Like, have we checked on him since this movie dropped? Number 8 on my list is Abigail from Abigail. Creepy children are not a new thing to the horror genre, and neither are super bratty vampire children.
Claudia, don't.
Why not? Can't I change like everybody else?
But I cannot deny seeing Abigail run around in her sparkly tennis shoes and tutu was honestly too iconic to not include on this list. My number 7 pick is the wooden mannequin thing from Oddity. Talk about an oddity, am I right? The thing that makes him so iconic is that there's no real explanation given as to what it is, why it is. All that's mentioned in the movie, if I remember correctly, is like Darcy says that it was like gifted to her mother by a witch or something like that. And I guess we're all just supposed to be like, okay, yeah. But like, why does he have to look so fucking freaky? The minute Darcy pulls that thing out of the trunk, I would have been out of there. No way am I staying anywhere alone overnight in a closed space with that thing. Coming in at number 6 is Frodo the cat from A Quiet Place Day One. I think it's safe to say that pretty much all of us immediately fell in love with Frodo in this movie. The way he kind of just like, he runs off, he comes back all the time, he just fearlessly moves about the city with these creatures. He seems to get it. He seems to get that he should stay quiet. And he finds Joseph Quinn's character and he brings him to Lupita Nyong'o's character because Frodo just knows what these characters need.
It's a service cat.
You're goddamn right he is. And the real life kitties that played Frodo, was played by 2 cats, Schnitzel and Nico, are what inspired Lupita Nyong'o to adopt a cat for herself. She said in a couple of different interviews that she was previously afraid of cats because she didn't know that much about them, and then working with them in this movie made her grow to love cats, and now she has a cat. I love that so much, honestly. I think that's the sweetest thing. And then Frodo survives, of course. Utterly iconic. In the number 5 spot for me is Solange from The Front Room. I know this movie was a mixed bag for a lot of us, but I think we can all agree that Solange is one of the most standout things about this movie. And I gotta say, I do love a character that is just objectively bad. Like, she's manipulative, she's controlling, she's racist, but at the same time, she's completely unforgettable as a character. And she has some of the best lines in the movie, honestly.
Gertrude, I thought you were supposed to have more interesting names.
Number 4 is a very recent release, and I know that some of y'all have had to wait till this month to watch it. I don't know if it's actually out yet. in the UK and Australia and other places, but it's Nosferatu. If you haven't seen it yet, trust when I say that Count Orlok is absolutely one of the most iconic characters of this year. The deep voice with the accent, the beautiful coffin bed turned popcorn bucket, but the most iconic thing is the fit. Shout out to costume designer Linda Muir for this look. But like the fur hat with like the feathery thing on top, the fur lined coat, and the fucking like cheetah print on the coat. Like shut the fuck up. It looks so cool. And even though we only ever see Count Orlok at night, so it's like we don't really get to see those details in the movie, just knowing that those details were there, I think is so iconic. Number 3 on my list is Lisa from Lisa Frankenstein. It is almost impossible to pinpoint like just a few things that made Lisa so iconic in this movie because she just is the entire film. Attitude, the morbid hobbies, the outfits. Again, I saw so many like Lisa and the monster couple costumes this past Halloween, and I feel like that is a pretty good marker for success of a horror movie character if so many people are dressing up as them for Halloween, the year that the movie comes out. All right, coming in at number 2, and this was a tough decision between this one and number 1, but I'm gonna give the number 2 spot to Alyssa Sue from The Substance. Not a single one of us could have predicted that Alyssa Sue was how The Substance was gonna end, but man, did she blow everyone away with the ridiculous amounts of blood spewing from her body. And that's pretty iconic, but what I felt was like the most iconic moment for Alyssa Sue was actually before the blood spewing, and that's when Alyssa Sue was getting ready for the New Year's Eve show. Like brushing her hair, single hair, putting on her jewelry. Like what a diva. The edits for that I saw like on TikTok and Instagram were absolutely insane, and I love them. And finally, the most iconic horror character of 2024. Longlegs. I feel like this one had to win because it worked on at least 2 different levels. The first being like the faction of people that thought Longlegs as a character was super duper creepy and terrifying and hyping up the movie in that regard. And then another group of people that thought it was low-key funny or like cunty and hyping it up that way. And it made for the perfect storm of memes, edits, viral sounds on social media. Everyone was not only talking about Longlegs as a movie, but Longlegs as a character. I think it was only right to give the number 1 spot to Longlegs. So that is my personal list of the most iconic horror characters of 2024. Of course, I want to know what characters you thought were the most iconic in the comments below. And are there any, from what we know about the horror movies coming out this year in 2025, are there any that you think could possibly make the list a year from now? And this kind of ends out like my most anticipated lists for the year, my 2024 rankings for the year. This is kind of like the fun ending to all that. Obviously, I do rankings all year long of other things, and I'll usually do like a half-year check-in for our ranking and some most anticipated when we have news of other movies coming out later in the year, much later in the year. But I hope you enjoyed all that. We'll jump right back into it with some more movie reviews and other lists, all things horror, all throughout the year. I'll see you next week with more videos. Until then, stay strange. Bye.